sau đây với chủ đề dự cảm đón đầu, năng lực cốt lõi giúp doanh nghiệp tồn tại và đột phá. Và chúng tôi xin được mời lên sân khấu những vị diễn giả và moderator của chúng ta. We would like to invite to the stage our guest speaker, Mr. Douglas Kuo, General Manager Abbott Việt Nam. Xin được mời lên sân khấu ông Douglas Kuo, Tổng Giám đốc Abbott Việt Nam. Let's welcome Mr. Jahanzeb Qayum, CEO and General Director, Suntory PepsiCo Việt Nam Beverage. Xin được giới thiệu ông Jahanzeb Qayum, Tổng Giám đốc điều hành công ty nước giải khát Suntory PepsiCo Việt Nam. Let's welcome Mr. Ông Douglas Kuo, General Director, Gamudaland JSC. Xin được giới thiệu ông Ông Douglas Kuo, Tổng Giám đốc Gamudaland. Let's welcome Mr. Warrick Cleine, Chairman and CEO KPMG in Vietnam and Cambodia. Ông Warrick Cleine, Chủ tịch kiêm Tổng Giám đốc KPMG tại Việt Nam và Campuchia. And Mr. Chad Oval, our partner, Mekong Capital Chairman, AmCham Việt Nam. Và ông Chad Oval, Tổng Giám đốc Mekong Capital, Chủ tịch của Hiệp hội Thương mại Hoa Kỳ tại Việt Nam sẽ là người dẫn dắt phiên thảo luận này. Let's take a seat and begin the discussion. Vâng, thưa quý vị, phần tọa đàm này sẽ được thực hiện hoàn toàn bằng tiếng Anh và chúng tôi đã chuẩn bị sẵn những tai nghe phiên dịch trên bàn hoặc ở cuối hậu trường để quý vị có thể sử dụng khi cần thiết. Và bây giờ một tràng pháo tay để chúng ta bắt đầu phiên tọa đàm với chủ đề dự cảm đón đầu, năng lực cốt lõi giúp doanh nghiệp tồn tại và đột phá.
Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to have Angus, JK, Warrick, and Douglas with us here. The first half of the afternoon was packed full of data, concepts, theories, and new approaches to management, best practices. It was very insightful. What we would like to do as a panel together is to deliver to you stories from the C-suite, practical experiences, concrete stories based on the last 6 months of experience and looking forward as well. So I'm very excited. I've actually had the opportunity to interact with all of the panelists over the past week and get some insights into what they've been through. So I'm very excited for all of you to have the opportunity to hear what I've been hearing in my conversations with them. So I'd like to kick off. And looking back to when the first wave hit, there was a huge amount of uncertainty that hit all of our employees in each of our companies. And these employees clearly needed leadership from the C-suite. So I'd like to just start off by asking Douglas, what were the initial actions you took?
Sure. When you run into something like a pandemic, the first thing that pops to your mind is making sure it's caring. That's one of the core values at Abbott, making sure that our people are safe, that they have all the gears that they need to go out to the market. We're very fortunate at Abbott that we're classified as essential services. So once we take care of our employees, we also want to make sure that our equipments are working in the hospitals, our product are being accessed to society, and making sure that availability here. So we're very, very proud of our team. Once we take care of them, they responded with purpose right now. They know that their mission is to take care of the health and welfare of the society. And all of them work very, very hard around the clock to making sure that we take care of our stakeholders, the healthcare professionals, making sure that they have the proper products, the equipments, and also the PPEs that's needed in there. And we're making sure that our products are also available. So all of them show a high level of resilience. They ran into what we call the fire. Basically, it was a very difficult environment. As you can see, like in April, coronavirus was all around us, and it's really hard to ask them to run into the environment. And to their credit, they respond with purpose and service to the hospitals and healthcare professionals and to our consumers. So I think that's the balanced approach in terms of trying to balance both taking care of our employees and also serving our community as well.
I definitely heard this morning the theme of empathetic leadership. And that is something that really communicated to me in my prior interactions with you each. Warrick, would you mind sharing a bit about what actions you took with respect to your team and making sure that in the face of uncertainty they felt secure, that their jobs weren't at risk, and you gave them that real empathetic leadership?
Yeah, thanks, Chad. It was. I mean, it's almost hard now to think back just what it was like when the borders started shutting and everybody was told to stay at home and we had to switch to remote working and all of those things, and the sort of sense of anxiety and panic that was in the air. We thought a few things were really important in the midst of all of that. One was communication. It was very actively making sure that we were talking to our staff, telling them what was going on, the way we saw things, the way we predicted things were going to pan out, giving them the opportunity also to ask questions, to feed back to us, those sorts of things. But we also very early realised that not only in our staff, but right throughout society, there was a huge amount of anxiety about their futures, economic futures and income security and so on. So if we think about it from an HR perspective, we tend to spend a lot of time, we'll put it in technical terms, the Maslow hierarchy of needs. We spend a lot of time dealing with people's egos, with their sense of belonging, all those sorts of things. In this situation, we had to bring it right back to the basics, to say to people, you know what, we understand right now, it's about your income and about job security. And that was something we did early on, was we had an all town hall, electronically of course, and we said to everybody pretty boldly, whatever happens here, we're going to do our best to keep your jobs and keep your basic incomes intact. And this was in a world where the market was awash with rumours about salaries being cut. Other countries, including other KPMG offices around the world, were cutting headcount and what have you. We went out and made that promise, which caused my partners to panic a little bit. But ultimately, of course, as we know, the economy's come back here, and it was a good thing to do. But it just removed so much anxiety and ratcheted down the angst in the firm. And we've gotten an incredible amount of positive feedback from our people about those early promises.
Great, that is a bold move to promise everyone they're going to keep their job. JK, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I just want to add a couple of things. So first of all, I believe the key is to have very clear priorities, right? And what are your priorities that you need to focus on in such a situation? And that's the first thing we did, arrange those priorities. And then, as Warrick and said, we communicated them very clearly to everyone and over-communicated them at times. And what were some of the priorities? I think the big priority for us as an organization, I would say, is caring, right? And that is one of our core values at Suntory PepsiCo is caring, but caring for whom? Well, it starts off with our employees, right? Our first role was to protect them. And while we wanted to keep our business running, we made sure that they did not come in harm's way. And I'm really proud to say that not a single employee or third party or distributor or anyone else was infected with the disease, because we made sure that strict precautions were taken. Then, as we mentioned, we did not cut any headcount, right? So no employee was fired because, we had a budget to meet or a target to meet. No remuneration was cut, all right? So, you saw some presentations earlier in the day and how certain, jobs were outsourced, or certain, employees were given less time at work. We did none of that, right? We made sure that the income of our employees was protected. In fact, I wanted to give you a specific example. One of the key sort of people are the frontline staff, right? Especially our sales staff, right? Everyone else in the office, their job is secure and they get the same salary check every month. Not your salesman. A lot of the salesman's, remuneration is based on his sales volume. And so it is with us, right? Part of it is his base salary, part of it is his execution in market, and part of it is sales. So we said, wait a minute, I mean, this is not his fault that the volume is not coming. He's working hard, or he or she is really putting in their effort. They should not be penalized because of COVID. And what we did was we restructured some of the incentives that the front line had in a manner where the skew was more towards execution and a little less towards the absolute volume. And the idea was to ensure that a certain minimum level or a certain minimum threshold was maintained for our front line, right? Because we want to keep this intact. We believe it to be our strength.
Earlier today, Mai Fung from Unilever shared, it was very much about going back to the core values. And I also experienced the same with the companies we've invested in. We saw a lot of them turn back to their mission, the core values. Angus, do you have anything to share about how you address that within Gamuda land?
In Gamuda land, we are in the real estate industry, and in real estate, we always have this word. The most important thing is location, location, location. But during the pandemic, the more important word is test, test, test. So living up to our value of respecting the people and the communities, we take care of our colleagues. We do testing for our construction workers at our construction site. So we see that is very important because first we take care of our own employees. The second one, we take the burden out from the government. If there's infections, we can detect it early and we can prevent the spreading. So this lives up to our value of respecting the people and the communities. And at the same time, also we gone through some mandatory salary cut for the higher level staff. Why we do that? This is to make sure that our colleagues with lower income, they are secure with their jobs. And this is also one thing that the company do to help the whole company, all the employees to go through the pandemic together.
Great, thanks. We also heard a theme of communication and over-communicate earlier today. I echo that from my own experience, but I'm wondering, Warrick, given that most of your employees are white-collar office professionals, did you find that it was important to communicate to them, or did they get it? And did you direct your communication to the junior, new joiners, or was it to the senior leadership team?
Yeah, look, it was both. I mean, there was a crisis response team that we were talking to very closely at the leadership level, but we knew we had to speak to everybody, and this was, I think we all experienced the rapid adoption of technology that we didn't know existed before. So my town hall cycle in Vietnam used to involve flying to Cambodia and Hanoi and through Laos and doing all of those things, and speaking to audiences in rooms like this. And you know, we quickly worked out that we could use technology through Microsoft to speak to everybody at once. And we rolled that technology out, we got on and we spoke to 1,800 people. And in the end, the importance of that, I think, was actually being very transparent about giving everybody from the top of the organisation to the bottom the same message. Giving everybody the same opportunity to ask questions, to understand what we were doing and how we were thinking, and really to remove that anxiety that we felt throughout the organisation. So it also gave us a chance to let people tell their stories. We thought that was pretty important, and we had stories from individual employees about them being the only ones in their families that still had incomes, how their brothers and sisters had lost their jobs, all those sorts of things. Sharing those stories about some of our foreigners who were trapped in Vietnam or their families were trapped in other countries, all of those sorts of stories helped our people understand that we were all in it together as well. So communication was just really important, and we did that not once but on an ongoing basis, and in fact on a continuing basis, much more than we would normally have. So we broke the old cycle of an annual town hall, and we spoke regularly about what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the same experience at Abbott as well, too, right? Initially, everybody was worried about safety. You know, we went online, and we also saw a lot of questions. The nature of the question changed over time. Like in April, am I going to get fired? Are you going to cut my salary? Are you going to cut my incentive structures right now? Once we're able to do the town hall, we're able to talk to them and calm them down. Then the next question is, can I work from home? Do I still have to go out there? How are you going to protect me when I go out there? Then once we calm down that part of their anxiety, then the next part they're going to ask, okay, can I going to hit my bonus or not for the rest of the year? So once they're kind of stable, you see that from the bottom up, it's a great way to get the pulse of the organization. And I think that's where all the communication is really important. And even once you're able to share and address the needs of the organization, all these communication, you get that instant feedback, you get the pulse of the organization, and you can respond accordingly. So after June, we start pivoting more in terms of, okay, great, you guys all secure, you guys all, all feeling safe, you're all protected, you're focusing on the business right now. And I think the only thing that really jumped out after June was Vietnamese people are very social. They hate working from home. Then the biggest question that we get, when can we come back to the office now?
So Chad, just building on the theme of communication, I think one of the key things that we did was that our communication, we made sure was just not limited to our employees. You know, we made sure that our communication was also focused on our distributors, our key customers, our contractors, our third-party logistics company. So we made sure that we had that larger scope of communication, right? Because I believe, you know, a company doesn't work by itself. It has other stakeholders. And it's very important to make sure that all those stakeholders are aligned, are comfortable, and everyone is working to a common goal.
So if we shift the conversation slightly from the initial reaction, what it took to be resilient in the face of the crisis, and as the first wave settled and employees started feeling a bit more relaxed about the uncertainty, what was necessary to change your business model or to adapt your team to find new ways of working or new ways of delivering service or product or results? And what did that take from you as a leader? Maybe Angus, you'd like to share?
I think we really learned a lot from the pandemic. When it just started, we don't know what to do, and we look for SOP, you know, what to do. But when the second wave hit, we were very prepared because we have done it before. So I think the relearning and the continuous learning is important to go through this. Like example for us, it was fortunate that it hits Vietnam just after the TED, where there was a quiet period for real estate industry. But we were preparing for one of our major launch in March. But we have to postpone it. And we postpone it and we have to plan it the other way around. Normally we will have a big hall like this that we invite potential buyers to come to enjoy the launch, but we have to change it to become a virtual launch. And it becomes very successful. So in terms of crisis, able to be innovative and to change the way we do things all the time is also important. I think this is something that we learned from this pandemic.
Douglas, you shared with me a bit about how your 5-year digital plan got crunched down into a year.
So it's, I remember Ms. Tan showed a slide, right? Who leads digital transformation? Usually the top C-suite, right? But I really believe COVID leads digital transformation. You know, we had a 5-year plan, and once we able to settle down, making sure that employees are safe, they're getting back to business right now, we can't go back to the old normal, right? And I think the frustration with a lot of organizations is how do you get digital transformation to work? There's a lot of buzzwords, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of platform. But at the end of the day, what you want is high-level engagement, and you want high level of, of collaboration. So I'll give you an example, right? In the past, whenever we talk to, healthcare professionals, it usually takes us like about 9 weeks. We got to organize the topic, we got to fly into speakers, we have to reorient everything, making sure that we organize a venue like this. We never tried to do it online before. And that was very, very difficult. But then something happened in terms of COVID, right? There's new treatment guidelines, and Europe came out with the first treatment guidelines for S-Pens, and we have to adopt it for Vietnam. So within a span of 3 weeks, we translated the European standards to Vietnam, worked with MOH, making sure that we try virtual. And the funny thing is, we keep on talking about digital transformation at a very high level, but what does it really mean? It really means like installing WebEx on all these doctors. And these doctors are very resistant to change. They're 45, they're 50, they're 55. So our team went in there, installed WebEx for them. There's this, how do you push this? How do you get that button? Do you have to turn on the camera? How do I ask questions? So it's very, very tough. And they says, no, I want to be entertained. I want to go to the venues right now, right? In terms of hearing the speakers. I want food, I want coffee. So all these things were barrier to change, but once we had no choice but to move online right now with a virtual symposium for 2,000 doctors right now, it really worked. In terms of what we saw that we're able to cut down, in terms the turnaround time from like 9 weeks down to 3 weeks, the engagement was actually 2 times better because doctors found a new way. And it was some of the beautiful pictures that we saw was 25-year-olds working 50-year-old doctors right now, making sure they're able to attend. Some of them were attending from the hospital, some were attending from homes right now. But the most important thing is that because digital transformation, we're able to make changes right now at the national level, bring the latest treatment protocol, especially for elderly people for COVID right now. And it was rolled out very effectively in all the hospitals, and even MOH put it on their website. So that's really the impact of digital transformation. We really have to boil down to make sure that it works right now on a practical level, and you have to get people's buy-in. And I think that's where a crisis like this helps us right now in terms of implementing these digital transformation initiatives.
Just to build on that, I think there are two things I'd like to call out about, getting, after the first shock, what do you do after that, right? I think there are two things. First of all, you have to be very close to the consumer and the customer. Trends are changing, and you need to be nimble in your plans and adapt your plans accordingly, right? So if the consumer wants healthier products, you need to provide him those healthier products. If a certain channel or like let's say restaurants or whatever the offtake is low and people are consuming more in home, then you have to be able to do that. But I think the most important thing is you have to have faith in the future and in your business, right? And in that, you cannot be too short-term. I mean, and this is something we decided very early on, right? We have faith in our business. We will not cut obviously we will be efficient and we will make very efficient choices, but things like capital expenditure, things like investment behind our brands, things like investment in our people, we will not cut that, right? Because we know this market will rebound, and when it does, that capital expenditure, that investment in our brands, and those investment in our peoples will pay off twice as much as they're paying off right now.
Yeah, we had an interesting process to go through, because we had just finished in the firm a 5-year plan just before the crisis, really. And we set ourselves goals that set out 5 years. We set ourselves priorities. We had work streams around our clients, around innovation, around our trust agenda, people engagement. And we kind of went through a panic as to whether all of those plans and decisions we'd made sense in light of what had quickly changed. So what was important, I think, was to recognise that exactly as I said, you had to have faith in your business and the plans you'd made, and in fact to understand that we are going to get through this, and it is going to come to an end, and business is going to come back to normal. So the overall mission and commitments we had made were just as important, if not more important, in light of the panic than they were before the panic. What we also had to do was dig into our market presence and the things that we're doing, and recognise that in our business at KPMG, big parts of it are very resilient to crises and to pandemics and various things. Things like audits, people still need them. Other parts were very discretionary. People can defer IT projects, people can kick M&A deals down the road. So we had to really look at our business on a portfolio basis, decide what's going to be impacted in the short and medium term. We identified through that really helpfully some competitive advantages that we had that had previously been disadvantages. So we had cases, for example, where our competitors, believe it or not, we have competitors, ran business models which relied, for example, on flying experts in from Singapore. And we look back over the last year and we've lost some opportunities because they've gone and said, hey, we can bring these experts in from around the world. KPMG, you got all these Vietnamese people that don't understand it. Suddenly what was a weakness became a strength. We could do things they couldn't, because guess what? You can't fly people in from Singapore. And understanding those competitive advantages, getting into the market, talking about them, telling your teams that you've got these advantages became a really important thing as well. Playing to your strengths, accentuating the strengths was a big part of that post-panic period.
Angus?
Yep, just to add on a bit, during the pandemic, the crisis time, also trying out new things is also important. And we look at what the resources that we have, and we try out new things. One of the examples of our company is that we are the first company to sell houses through Shopee in Malaysia. So the reactions are of course mixed, but it makes us closer to the market. It's also a breakthrough for us to find new ways to sell our houses, especially during the crisis time. So trying new things is important at this moment.
What about putting product development on hold, innovation on hold?
So one of the core values at Abbott is called pioneering. We really believe in product innovation. We had product launches this year. The easiest thing to do was just to delay them until the following year. But you have to stay relevant, and you also have to stay salient, because all these product innovations actually improve immunity for the welfare of these consumers. So we continue to launch innovations. Pioneering, it's really important, but at the same time, it's also commercial innovation as well too, right? We know that there's new trends right now, right? We know that digital transformation has been compressed. The trend has been happening, like the trend towards e-commerce, it's accelerating. What is happening in 5 years of development is happening 1 year. And you got to respond to the consumer needs as well too, right? So how do you serve their needs in terms of home delivery in 30 minutes right now? That's what the customers are asking for. So we have to innovate new ways of working, new ways to delight the customers. And I finally saw in terms of employee engagement as well too, right? One of the most important thing is caring as well too, right? We also have to show that in terms of innovations as well too. How do we care for employees? It's a simple thing as saying thank you, taking them out to lunch, taking them to food work like P&J, or else making sure that they have new capabilities. So there's a lot of HR professionals in the room. You have to lead from the front, and this is something I always talk to Ms. Tan about. There's also leading in terms of these pandemics right now. How do you lead with this innovation? So there's new ways of engaging and caring for your employees, and if you do that well, I think you get the engagement level up. So all these things are all interlinked.
So, 0 innovations cancelled this year. Whatever we had in plan, we have launched, right? And again, that's about having faith in the future.
The important thing, I think, is to understand that there's 2 crises going on. There is a health crisis, but there's also an economic crisis and a global recession, and the impact that that's going to have. And there are plenty of studies, academic studies, management studies, that would show that those companies that, in the face of a recession, stop investing or stop backing themselves are the ones who ultimately fail and come out of the other end the weakest. Those who double down in the recession on innovation, on capex, on their expansion plans, come out of it stronger. And there's a real tendency in the world to talk about this being unprecedented, but large aspects of this are not unprecedented. So we know what to do in a recession, and we know that if we continue innovating and we continue investing, we're going to come out of it stronger than our competitors. And I think that was a really important thing.
I think innovations now play an even bigger role. In our industry, in real estate, changes is always very slow. A house is a house. But because of the pandemic, it actually changed the whole perspective. The house is now a working place as well. So for us, we have to be innovative to turn the spaces used to be more functional, to suit the market. So innovations has become more important than before for our industry.
So this brings me to my biggest concern, which is you've got through the pandemic, you over-communicated, you exercised empathetic leadership, you got agility into the organization, you doubled down on caring for community, you took care of the frontline staff. But as JK said, faith in the future. There still is a lot of uncertainty. We don't have a vaccine. I'm sure many of our employees are wondering when wave 3 is coming. People don't know when the economy is going to rebound. How do you enroll, inspire, motivate your teams after all of the exhaustion, all the months of working from home or kids not being in school, the fatigue that has set in with not having the ability to travel freely? How do you keep your teams excited about the future in the face of all that?
I'll kick off. I think without a doubt, even in that early crisis communications, the see beyond messaging was important. The messaging that this is going to end. We might not know how or when or what goes on, but one thing we know through human history, pandemics end. Another thing we know through human history, recessions end. So that see beyond message was really, really important, because if there is no hope, how can you be motivated? How can you be excited? So that part of our messaging is something that we started early and we continued on with, and I think that's a big thing, to keep on saying this is going to come to an end and we're going to be in a better place. We're going to end up in a pretty exciting place, and we're going to do lots of exciting things along the way, and we're all in it together, and we're going to come through out of this stronger. So that was really important.
Yeah, just to build on that, first of all, I'd say human beings are amazingly resilient species, and Vietnam is a great country, and I think this is a great economy, and the future is bright, right? Building on what you were saying, right from the start, a lot of it has to do in the actions that you took. Did any action that you take suggest that the future was not bright? Did you cut spending? Did you cut innovation? Did you cut capex? And the answer was no, right? And as we see things improving, we are realistic in our communication with our people. Yes, there are going to be challenges. Yes, it's going to be a tough year, maybe next year as well. But we still think it's going to be better than this year, and we still think our company is headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I'd like to build on that. I mean, you see the message of this theme is resiliency and adversity, especially during difficulty. And I think you settle down, I think you got to pivot to the future. And I think it's two parts right now. One is communication, again, and one is your core value. Communication, right? You got to take advantage of the most important word in the English language, right? It's called hope. And Vietnam people are very optimistic about the future. We all know that we'll bounce back. All research know it. We have the entrepreneurial spirit in here in Vietnam. So I think it's communication, right? People are sick and tired of talking about adversity. They want to talk about the future. They want to know that their future is tomorrow is better than today. And I think that's going to be here. I think Vietnam is going to bounce back. It's going to do very well. And then you go to your core values. How do you live for the future? Well, you got, the core values of Abbott is really reflective of that. One is pioneering. You got to double down on your innovation, especially during difficult times. You can't cut back. Second thing is that you have to achieve, right? All the panelists here and all the great case studies showing that you got to achieve. We're all stakeholders right now. We're all custodians of our company businesses right now. We got to achieve. We got to grow faster in the market. We got to, making sure that we have product innovation, commercial innovation, people innovation. So we got to achieve. The third thing is that you show that you have to care. How do you care about people? In the short term, it's to thank them for their service. But in the long term, you have to dial up the capabilities right now. How do you invest in their future? How do you make sure that you have the right workforce to take care of agility, digital transformation? And finally, the final value for Abbott is enduring right now, right? We will get through this. We've been around for 130 years. If you practice those communication skills right now and the core values, we will get through this. Tomorrow is going to be definitely better than today.
I think the pandemic is bad, but there's always a silver lining to this. If you look at real estate industry, before the pandemic, the price is escalating so fast. It's even grow faster than our salary always. So with this pandemic, things actually slow down a bit, it consolidate, and it's a good time, it's a good opportunity for look for other deal. We have more time to look at it, and we can be more prepared. So when crisis comes, this is also an opportunity. So we see this as an opportunity, and this is how we communicate to our team here. So there's always a silver lining. This is what I believe in.
When's your next sales launch?
So just wanted to share something that going back to the discussion on core values. So one of the core values at Suntory PepsiCo is a Japanese saying called Yate Minehare, which literally means failure is an option, but fear is not an option. And that is a spirit that we instill in all of our employees, all of our partners, and that means we are looking forward to the challenge of next year.
I think there's one other aspect I'd like to touch on before we wrap up, and I do agree with you that our teams are hungry for feeding them with future. All of our teams are hopeful people. But given that 80% of our audience today are HR professionals, there always is a long tail of some individuals in the organization that may have some high level of anxiety or distress, or they withhold in their communication. They don't speak out and express their concerns that they have deep down inside. Do any of you have any examples of steps you took recently to really provide an outlet for those who may be struggling with their mental health, their confidence for the future?
Yeah, two stories really. One is that we've always had this platform in the firm called Ask Whack Anything. Whack is my initials. So it's so that any staff can click that button and it fires me an email with their question and their concern. And we there wasn't much use of it, to be frank. You get once every couple of months. Reminding people of that channel through the crisis really did trigger a lot of communication from people throughout the organisation. Even today, I got an email from an employee about the flooding in Hawaii, how that's impacting her family. She's worried about it, and so on. And I think that avenue, that ability for employees to reach directly to me as the leader of the firm and ask me questions and express their anxiety was really, really important. The second thing I did, and I didn't do it during the crisis because we were too busy fighting fires, but over the last month, I have been doing what I call casual chit chats with my partner and director group. It's about 100 people across the firm, scheduling an hour with them and sitting down. And I've come to realise during that process just how much anxiety is within my leadership group. And these are people who are pretty secure in their jobs and very well off relative to most people in Vietnam or in Cambodia. But everybody's got a story, and it could be the foreigners that are separated from their families. It could be the Vietnamese who are worried about their parents or their children in America or whatever it is. Everybody had a story that is causing them anxiety, and appreciated the opportunity to lay that anxiety on me, and as I did too. I really learned a lot during the last month in that process. So I think it was before that I'd had a tendency to think this is mostly an issue for our younger staff, the lower salaries, as you said, the people who are most anxious. But you know what? It's really across organisations. So giving people a chance to talk about it, sharing it, coming up with solutions where we can, all of this is really important. And don't assume that anybody's doing this easy. Including all of us, I think, who have been through our own journeys of anxiety through this period.
Great. Last question. What would be your parting thought for the audience? The one key message you really want to leave with people based on what you see as the need from your leadership going forward in the face of uncertainty and adjusted plans, and making sure our teams are fully excited about the future?
I would say we have to hope for the best and plan for the worst. So while we remain faith that we will prevail along the way, but we have to look at the brutal truth that we have to face the reality. So we have to be optimistic, but at the same time, we have to plan for the worst. That's why what we are doing now, we always plan that there might be a third wave or the fourth wave coming. It's not being pessimistic, but we want to be ready when something happens. So my thoughts will be hope for the best and plan for the worst.
My advice would be, first of all, have confidence in yourselves and your business, right? Secondly, have clear priorities set out, right? And execute them to the best of your ability, then things should work out.
Yeah, I think as I said earlier, every crisis ends, and whether it's a pandemic or whether it's a recession or whether it's a cash flow crisis, whatever it is, it's going to end. And you can always look forward to that period, and you need to put yourself in the place that you're going to take advantage of that world or whatever is at the end of it to the extent possible. And reminding not only yourself of that, but your people of that is a really important role of a leader, I think, to just see beyond, see the bigger picture, not get tied down in the micro, think about the macro, and make decisions on that basis, and is really important.
Sure, I'll leave just with the core principle of pioneering. I think there's three parts of it. It's product innovations, commercial innovations, and people innovations. I think there's a lot of high-level theory, but really, end of the day, it boils down to a really simple thing. Take care of your people will take care of the business, your people will take care of community, and that's how you deliver above-market growth. You'll be around, you'll be enduring, and then we will emerge out of this crisis even stronger.
Thank you so much for your wonderful thoughts. May I invite all of you to support me in expressing appreciation to our panelists.